Gonna record this. All right. So you'll be able to watch a video and then answer a couple questions, and then there will be the slide deck, the video, and then any action items that I asked you to do during the meeting. Okay. So that is um, one thing that you can do on the sort of the resource site website. The calendar is also very important because this is a live calendar and I'll be updating it as things get updated. So as if a competition changes or if a meeting changes or something changes, I will update it in this live calendar. And it is embedded here, so you can see my computer's going to load. You can just kind of click through it this way to see all of the dates for the competitions and all of our grant dates and stuff for all of the months. Okay, so just kind of know that that exists there. Bookmark it, check it often. But I'm also going to be posting like important dates, like standout dates in like an October section with the flyer and all the details there. So that'll give you that information for each of the months. And then the newsletters, every month I've been sending you guys a newsletter that all of the editions of the newsletters will be there. So if you're like, oh, I think I read that in a newsletter, you can always go back to the newsletter and see it there. There's a section here for all about competitions. We'll get to that when we talk about competitions today. And then there's the resources tab, which I will add stuff to this all the time, as I create resources. So there's like the checklist about the, how to set up a chapter, and there's the PLC schedule and all about competitions. So that is just your resource site. And I just hope that you guys will utilize that because it'll save you from having to remember all these emails and when did you get that and where is that information. All of it's going to be on that resource site. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. And then the next thing is our agenda for today. So today we're going to talk about a little calendar review, just the things that are up and coming for October, early November. We're going to talk about how you get your students registered, how the students will register to be members of Educators Rising. We're going to talk about competitions, and then we'll just have the action items at the end that you need to complete for October. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the calendar. Again, this is a link to that calendar. It's a live calendar, so it's going to be, updated regularly. This is just the dates to know for October. See these little kind of notes at the top. Green is like just kind of optional things. Red are the important things. Not necessarily mandatory. If it's mandatory, I'll make a little mandatory mark, but not necessarily mandatory, but important, meaning, you really should try to you're very highly encouraged to go or to participate, have your kids participate. So, for example, competition training on October 4th, it's a Saturday at 5 p.m. That is not necessarily meant for teachers. Saturday at 5 p.m. is not a good time for teachers necessarily, but it is a good time for our state officers who will be hosting that. And that competition training will be a virtual training to just talk about the competitions as a whole. I'm going to go over that today with you. So if you have any questions, you can talk to me. But what I always do with this competition training is I encourage at least my chapter officers to go. So then they can report back to the members during a membership meeting and talk about the competitions. They can be the gurus on answering questions because they will have attended that training. Not every student has to go, but certainly if you have students that will be wanting to compete this year, they should go. A lot has changed from last year, and many of you are new anyway, so that part doesn't matter, but there's just a lot of things to kind of know about competitions. So I would encourage you to have somebody attend that. If you have homecoming that night, for example, it is not that big of it's not that big of a deal if your kids miss it. But just you're gonna know that you're gonna need to pass on the information I'm giving you today to them so that they are aware of what to do with competitions, which is entirely fine as well. Okay. And then on October 9th, we have Libby Winecoop is hosting the Maryland Teacher Leader Meeting. She has the meeting probably like every other month or something like that. She's our state representative. She's our state coordinator. She is like in charge of Maryland as Ed Rising. She and I work very closely together, so it can be kind of a little confusing. I am your guys's like support coordinator. So, but she's in charge of all of Maryland. Again, like I said, we work very closely together. Many times people will email both of us, at the same time, which is totally appropriate. But she does have her own meeting where she talks about just Maryland stuff. And what you need to know is that this is the information that goes to every teacher leader in Maryland, not just the grant schools, right? So the grant schools, there's only 35 of you that are in the grant. We only have 35 spaces for grant schools. So I'm dealing directly with 35 schools, and that's it. There are far more schools in Maryland that attend those meetings to get all of the Maryland information. Now, to be completely honest, you will probably have a lot of information about the Maryland goings on because of me. But it is a good idea to get into the practice of going to Libby's meetings, because after this grant ends and you lose your support coordinator, if that is what happens, you will need to be working directly with Libby to get all of this information. So it's a good idea to kind of recognize that you should be attending those meetings. On October 20th is just completely optional. You are a curriculum user. You do have the curriculum to at your fingertips to be able to utilize. And we have a national curriculum implementation manager. She's my supervisor. Her name is Debbie. She's amazing. She does, I think, about a once a month sort of curriculum focused group coaching session. They are amazing. They're really great. They teach me a lot even. But she really kind of digs deep into some of the curriculum stuff and answers questions. So if you have time and you have more interest in that curriculum, I know we're using the curriculum as a resource, but it is nice to kind of have as much information as possible. She'll sometimes go into things like the assessment pieces, or she'll go into dive deep into the credential, the little credentialing pieces. So she does some really great stuff. So if you can go, I don't know what this one's about, but if you can go to those, you'll get some really great information on curriculum. Okay. Again, totally optional. I'm just giving you options to learn as much as you can while you have this opportunity. For those of you that just joined, I just dropped the link for the slides in the chat. So please feel free to take a look at those. On October 23rd, this is an important one. This is the Fall Leadership Conference. This is what we're hosting at UMBC. And it is for you and your student leaders. So your chapter leaders, your 4 or 5 kids that are going to be helping you run this chapter. It's really important to have them come, because we really want to make sure that we are empowering those students to take on the leadership and the running of this chapter, right? So this is going to give them a lot of information on how they can do that and how they can be successful. If you cannot bring students, that is completely fine. And you don't need to attend if your students can't attend. So like in some cases, it wasn't enough notice for schools to figure out the transportation and the field trip part of it for their students, because they needed like 90 days or something is what their protocol is. So their students wouldn't be able to attend. So they were like, well, maybe the teachers can just go and get the information. It's really not necessary for the teachers to go. It's really going to be geared for the kids. We are going to have a session for you as teacher leaders, because you'll be there as chaperones, but it's certainly not something you need to make a special trip for if you aren't planning to be there with your students, okay? So that's important because that's going to help, the success of your chapter, to have those students really take the ownership. They're going to be learning from college kids. They're going to get a college campus. They're going to serve them lunch. They're going to have pizza lunch. So it'll be really a good day. Important to try to come. Again, not mandatory, but super important. Competition information is there. We're going to get into that in a second, but essentially there is a competition. Saturday competition is going to be hosted in person from me on the other side of the bridge on the Eastern Shore. So that's really exciting. We've never hosted competitions in person for many years. And I don't think they've actually ever been on the other side of the bridge from us. So I think that's really cool and a great opportunity for students over in the Eastern Shore. And then just something I like to publicize when I find out about. I know you guys are always, sharing out information about jobs and colleges. There's a big college fair in Baltimore on the 29th of October. I know the city schools and maybe Baltimore County schools or schools close to there will attend this. Oftentimes the county will pay for buses and stuff to go. But this is just for your information, good to know kind of stuff. You can completely shut it out of your brain if there's already too much stuff in there. I get it. But it is a college fair, huge college fair at the convention center on the 29th from 9 to 12 and 6 to 8. So, just good to know stuff, okay? And then these little arrows, these little click arrows tell you that there's a clickable link there for you to access more information about those. So let's talk about the October competitions. Now, I understand some of you are probably just sort of getting into like, okay, we got to look at these competitions, and you're like, what? We have to go to Pocomoke High School in Worcester County. Like, that's really far from us on a Saturday. You do not have to compete in these competitions. This is the first available competition. It's going to be in person. If you have kids that can make it there, wonderful. If you're on that side of the bridge, this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for you to compete in person, to compete on your, over there on your side of the your side of the state. For creative lecture and interactive bulletin board. If your kids can't make it there, then they can't make it there. You just don't compete in these ones, and that's okay. Because we're going to have virtual ones, we're going to have some, maybe closer to you as well, in November and further on throughout the school year. So this is just an opportunity to have some over there in that particular area. Okay. And here's some more information about it. This is the deadline to submit your pre-scored components. This is the sign-up link over here to sign up for it, to pick a time. These are the pre-score requirements for each of these competitions that's going to be held in person. You can click on the link to get the rubric and the very specific details about what the competition is. And then over here is what is required of the pre-scoring for those competitions, okay? And this is about the Fall Leadership Conference. Again, this is the one that was marked as important and, really tried to get to if you can. There's a flyer here and the registration link here. The deadline to register is October 10th, so it's very soon. So I encourage you to sign up as soon as possible. Just a little description about it. It's going to be held at UMBC. It's 8:30 to 1. The agenda is on the flyer. Our keynote isn't going to start until 9:30, but there's going to be activities in the morning from 8:30 to 9:30. So that kind of gives you a window of time to arrive. We do have folks coming from the other side of the bridge and from all over the state. So we wanted to just make sure that they could get here in time for the bulk of it. But there will be stuff in the morning, before the keynote starting at 8:30 for the students to do. So if you get there, there'll be like scavenger hunt, campus tours, like that kind of stuff happening first thing when they get there. So, but the actual guts of everything, if you can't make it till 9:30, is going to be, starting at that time, just so we have enough time for everybody to get there. We don't want anybody to miss out on the main part. And then they will be going into sessions to learn some leadership skills and some details about Ed Rising. This is what the flyer actually looks like. So you can see here the check-in and welcome and all of the things that are going to be happening and the times that everything happens. And again, if for some reason it's, it's too short a notice or it's been too short a notice for you to be able to get your students to the event, you as a teacher leader does not need to attend. It's really just primarily, this is the first time we're doing it, so we're going to see how it goes. But most Ed Rising states offer a fall leadership and then a spring conference. Like we have offered the spring conference obviously for years, but this is the first time we're doing a fall leadership, so it's really exciting. And it's going to be a great event. They're going to learn from college students and from the state officers, so it's good. It's going to be really great. But if you can't swing it this time, don't stress, okay? It's not that big of it, it's not that big of a deal that you need to stress out. So before we move on to student membership registration and talk about those details, does anybody have any questions about the dates or the importance of dates or any of the things that are upcoming? As far as the competitions, we'll talk about that in a second because that's the second thing on our agenda after student registration, but like specific competition questions. But dates and calendar, anything? Anybody have questions before I move on? You can come off of mute, or you can drop it in the chat. However you want to do it is fine. I'm gonna drop one more time, make sure everybody got the slides, and I think then that will be the last time I drop it in the chat. Any questions? You guys are good? All right. Well, then we're going to move on to student registration, which I know a lot of you have been emailing me about, and this is going to help you a lot. So what you're going to do is your students need to get registered in the membership portal, which is, obviously the Ed Rising website. So, and I fully admit that it's not ever been a super easy thing for me to do as a teacher leader to get all of my students registered. So we created a slide deck, Debbie and I created a slide deck for you to go every step of the way through this so that it's correct, so that you guys can do this easily. So I'm going to share with you that slide deck. If for some reason you're not at the stage, and that would be my Frederick County and my Harford County friends, where you have a promo code to enter to kind of zero out your kids' balance, you can wait to get registered, but we do have a deadline of November 1st to have all of the students registered, okay? If we get down to the wire with Harford County, Frederick County's paperwork got approved today, so we're going to be fine with Frederick County. But Harford County, we're still kind of going back and forth with that, the paperwork stuff. So if it gets close to the wire, obviously that's not your fault, but we will work out a deadline change for you guys. But what I want you to know is you're going to need to know where this slide deck is so that you can utilize it when you're like, oh my gosh, that was so long ago, I can't remember. This slide deck will be on our resources and you'll be able to utilize it again. Okay, so you'll click on this slide deck. And it basically my suggestion is to put it up on your smartboard and just have your kids there, your students there, and walk them through the process. I had somebody do it today. They said they got to like slide 16, which is almost the very end. And once they get to slide 17, then they're pretty much 17, 18, they're pretty much done. But just walk them through this whole process with this slide deck. It explains every step of the way. I'm going to go just do a quick run through of it just so you guys see it and know what you're going to be doing. But essentially you just, read the slide deck and you kind of do what it tells you to do. So you will need information that you get from an email from Vicki Anthony. I would suggest that you just search your search bar for Vicki Anthony. If you have, if you're not Frederick County or Harford County, you should have gotten an email from Vicki Anthony that gives you your school number. It gives you a code to enter for your students to be free, that kind of thing. Okay. Sometimes it's in spam, sometimes it's in a old folder because it could have been sent before. Like you could be in the system since this summer. So just kind of look for that. Then you're going to go to this website. You can click right on this thing to open up the website. That's our Ed Rising website. When you get here, you're going to click, they're going to click join. Wait, can I see this? What needed to be done by October 3rd? Sorry. Oh yeah, okay, you can see it. Did I say that, Lindsay? Oh, for the dates? Did I say something about asynchronous? I think you might be talking about an email that I sent you. It may be a training that you missed, Lindsay. If it's a training that you still need to complete, then I sent you. That's okay. If you missed a training, like a mandatory training, like a build your chapter or curriculum orientation, or the September 4th kickoff meeting, I sent you a link. Huh. What, did you get that information from an email, Lindsay? I thought I said it. I don't know. If somebody knows what I said about asynchronously, I could have said that. But essentially, if you have missed any of those, and Lindsay said she didn't, but if you have missed any of those, I did send you an asynchronous way to complete those at this point to try to get you up to speed with everything. So if I sent you an email on that, then it said just to watch these videos and let me know by a certain date. Lindsay, we can chat after. So the students are gonna click join. Now, if they were already members, like if they were members last year, if you're a year two school, then they would have, when they log in, it's gonna say renew, like a little yellow box that says renew instead of join. But if they're brand new to the website, you're gonna click join, which most of them will be. And then you're gonna click down here where it says Join Educators Rising Middle High School, obviously. Create an account here. Enter all this business, right? Their name and their password, whatever they want it to be. They're going to enter that stuff. They can skip this if they want to share their Instagram, fine, whatever, but they don't have to. In the email that you got from Vicki Anthony, you will have an organizational code. This is the easiest way to enter, to make sure your students are attached to the correct school. If they just type in like Blake High School, there might be like 40 Blake high schools across the country, and they might click the wrong one. It'll give them a search of Blake high schools, and then it'll look something like this. Hold on. It'll look something like this, right? So it says Arlington High School, and look how many Arlingtons. There's one in Tennessee, one in Texas, one in Indiana, one in Ohio. And then they have to really pay attention to pick the right one. Not always are our high school students, focused in enough to locked in, as they say, to pick the right one. Sometimes they make a mistake. So please make sure you find the code to just have the kids, like you can write it on the dry erase board as you're doing this. You can add it to the slide deck, however you want to do it. But you want them to put the number in. It's not a code. It's like, 59823, whatever. When you do that, it for sure is going to come up with the right high school, right? So it'll be the correct, here is the slide deck for Alyssa, who just came in. It'll for sure come up with the right high school, because you see here it says like 1045, that's the Arlington, Tennessee one. So it'll for sure bring on the right one. So, and you do want them to be attached to your school. You have to make sure that that is correct, because otherwise they're floating out in limbo as this member that doesn't have a school attached to them. So make sure that they know that code. Then they can put in here. They do not have to put their personal address. They just have to put an address, and they can use the school address. That's completely fine. They want to use their home address. That's fine too. Whatever address you want that they prefer to use. They don't have to use their home address though, just so you know, for privacy reasons. Phone type, they can put a school phone number in there. Again, they don't have to put in, for privacy reasons, a home number. Okay. And then here, they're just going to mark, what they are. They're middle high school students. This is a little bigger. They're middle high school students here, and then they're going to identify their race. It is mandatory to pick their race, although they can say other, or, choose not to, what it was like something like choose not to say, but they do have to click a button. They do have to click something there. Okay. And that's it for like all the stuff that they have to do. Okay. And then you get to this part and it says review and check out. It'll say here that they owe $25, because it's $15 for national and then $10 for Maryland. It'll say here that they owe $25, and all of them panic at this point, and they're going, oh no, even the teachers will panic and say, oh no, we got to pay $25. Well, you're going to keep going. Okay. So you're going to keep going to the slide, and here's where you enter your promo code right here where it says promo code apply. Okay. Then you're going to apply that and make sure you hit checkout, the green button that says checkout after. And then you're still not done. You want to say bill me, okay, and submit your order. If you don't finish, they have not fully registered, okay? Some of them will just say, okay, I put the promo code in, but they've not fully registered until they hit bill me and submit your order. Once they hit submit your order, it says your transaction was successful. They have their information and a customer ID, the whole shebang. So that's the process of doing it. It'll take about 24 hours for them to have access to the portal, and maybe for them to show up on your roster. I think it takes less to show up on your roster, but sometimes it takes about 24 hours for them to get access to the portal. But once they have access to the portal, they can then log back into that website, and under student resources, they will have all of the resources. The students have options to, register for, that's how they register for nationals. When nationals comes, that's how they register for the National Honor Society, for scholarships, for all of the things. So you just want to make sure that you follow all of those slides. Okay. So make sure that you go through all of those slides with them. And you need to have them registered by November 1st. So you have all of October to do this, okay? It shouldn't take very long once you kind of get on a roll with the slide deck. It should be fairly easy and quick for them to do. So make sure you have all of them in there by November 1st, okay? So just, make sure that you do that. If I'm going to address the question and thing. If you have more than 15 members, so that the grant pays for 15 members. If you have more than 15 members, have all of them register, 30 kids register. And then depending on where you are or what schools you're from, a lot of the school systems can use Perkins money to pay for the rest of those students. So let's just say, and they've set aside CTSO membership fees for that. And that's something I can either I can talk to the central office person, I can direct you to the right person, but in most of the counties, the additional memberships would be paid by the central office that supports the CTSOs in some way. A lot of them have set aside that money for just exactly for that reason. But you just still have them register, and even if it shows a balance due, we will work on that together to get that figured out by November 1st. Okay, so just have them all register, and then we'll work with your counties to get the rest of them paid for. Okay. So any questions before we move on to competitions about registration? It shouldn't be difficult. That slide deck, I think, really does explain everything. Again, this is a clickable link. You click right on this. It'll bring you to the slide deck. You can pull it up in your classroom and just have the students go, slide by slide by slide, and everything should be perfect. The best thing to do to find that email is to search your, I'm going to go back here just to go back to that slide, but to search your, oh, it's in here, sorry. To search your email for Vicki Anthony. I know all of yours came through from Vicki because she's the one that sent mine, but search your email for Vicki Anthony. And it could, like I said, it could be in spam, it could be in like an older folder, it could be in a red folder, something like that. That's where you're going to find your information for your school number, and your school promo code. And if you have any trouble, I have all your promo codes, so I can find them for you as well. Okay, but hopefully you can find that email, because that would be the easiest way to give that information to your students. So any questions about that? Hopefully, Jennifer, that answered your questions. Any questions about registering your students? Come off the chat. You can write it come off of mute. You can write it in the chat box. Okay, well, if not, then I'm going to move on to competitions. If you think of something as we go, you can certainly pop off of mute. Competitions, we're going to talk about kind of, the real nitty gritty. So you know what's happening. If you've competed before, this may be some new stuff for you, okay? We are, definitely have to make some changes this year. And if you're new to the whole thing, this is going to give you some clarification on how this works. The very first page right here, this slide, when you click on this link, this little picture, it brings you to a link or to a document. This is basically like what I would call the competition Bible. I don't know, for Maryland. That's probably not politically correct, but it's like the all-knowing competition information that you will need for Maryland. Okay. And I would bookmark it, save it. It's on our resource site. And you are going to need access to this kind of regularly to help you with the competitions, because this stuff isn't going to stay in your brain. The first thing you're going to find is the link for signing up for a competition. It's going to be the same link all year long. Just the boxes for competitions that are open at the time will be available when you log in. So right now, the October competitions are available, right? And then in November, or like end of October, then November will become available. So it's the same link all year to register for competitions. Your students are the ones that register or to sign up for a date and time. Your students have to do it, okay? You can certainly help them and support them, but your students are the ones that have to sign up, okay? This is the competition email address. I suggest that you send any emails regarding competitions to that email. There is a team. It's not a very big team, and both Libby and I are on it. But rather than sending, an email to me, an email to Libby, all about competition questions, it's better just to send it to that team about specific things about competitions, like, I need to change day. Did you get my kids' registration? What time did they sign up? Those kind of things are going to be better to go to the team because they can, the helpers can also help us with it, field those questions. There's a lot of people that sign up for competitions, not just the 35 schools of you guys, but it's the whole state of Maryland. So to field and to kind of save our inbox from filling up with competition things that use that email. If you have a different kind of competition question, like, um, can you point me in the direction to where I find information about this specific competition or something like that? I can certainly help you with that. Okay. And then there's the information about the actual competitions themselves. So October, right? These are the October competitions. The signups will open on September 18th. So right now they're open to sign up for an October date. Now you may be thinking, of course, my kids might not be able to compete for October because it's on the other side of the bridge. It's a long way to go. That's totally fine. You don't have to do these competitions. These are an opportunity for our friends on the other side of the bridge to have a place to compete in person, and we don't want to forget those guys over there. They often feel forgotten because they're over on the Eastern Shore and they don't kind of get lumped in with the rest of the state. So we're offering an in-person competition over there, and this is the details, right? These are the dates. This is the rubrics and the links to the actual competition information. And this is the deadline for pre-scoring components. So all of the pre-scoring items need to be turned in by the 18th of October at noon. Okay. Every competition has a pre-scoring requirement. So anytime they're competing this school year, they have to submit something before they actually compete that day. That's a pre-scoring component, okay? Every competition has one, at least something they have to submit. This year, we are requiring, and even changed from the very first competition, but we are requiring that when they sign up for a time slot to compete, they have to upload their pre-score component at that time. We had a ton of people sign up for spots this past competition and then never turned in their pre-scoring components. That was very limiting because it filled up our day of competitions with students that really never followed through, right? So we're changing that effective immediately. Maryland is a thriving state with lots of chapters and lots of students that are competing. We just can't keep up anymore with that amount of kids. So if your students do not upload their pre-score components or sign up by this deadline, whatever the deadline is for the next virtual one, if they're not signed up by October 11th at noon, they will not get to compete. I understand that some of you will be like, oh, my kids were so excited. They really wanted to compete. We missed the deadline. Nationals 100% will not let them compete if they miss the deadline. There's no flexibility given at nationals. These students have to abide by these deadlines, okay? You have a month and a half before the next virtual competition to let these kids know when they have to have those pre-scoring items done. There's no way that they should be completing their competition materials the week before a competition anyway. They should have it well ahead of that, okay? So please know that if you email me or Libby and say, I'm so sorry we missed the deadline, but I have students that really want to compete, there will be nothing we can do. We have to give those spaces to people that have done the proper, what they're supposed to be doing and following the rules. And that is following the, I just realized I don't have my background on, do I? That are following the deadline. So please make sure that you follow those deadlines and that you inform your kids plenty ahead of the deadlines. And you can see all of the deadlines here. So this is when it opens up to sign up, okay? This is when the deadline is to submit your pre-scoring and pick a time. All of it for the rest of the school year, it's all there, okay? So everything is there. Even the information about the 1 week prior to the first day of competition. For example, an example that would be our November deadline or November dates. You can see we're competing 2 days, right? The 18th and the 20th. Well, it's 1 week before the 18th. Okay, so it's not 1 week before the 20th, it's 1 week before the 18th. It's the first date, and we have to do that. There's we have only 1 week to read all of these pre-scored items and get them scored before the competition. So if somebody's trying to get in 3 days late, 1 day late, that limits our ability to make sure that we have them scored and really in a, a good, give them a good fair shot. Plus, it really is not fair to the other people that have gotten their stuff in that we're now taking all this extra time to score old ones or late ones. Okay, so please make sure that you are following these deadlines. Okay, we had a lot of trouble with the first one, and we're going to just make sure we're really super clear on what needs to be done. Now, some of you may be like, okay, well, what the heck is the pre-scoring? Like, this, this competition rubric is like 11 pages long. How do I know? How do they know what to submit? It's there. The pre-scoring requirements are there, listed there. But to save you guys some trouble, because I'm your support coordinator, I have pulled out everything. If you scroll down this competition schedule, I have pulled out everything that for every competition we have coming up that needs to be submitted the week before. So you see here, creative lecture, they need a PDF of the speech must be uploaded. For interactive bulletin board, a PDF of the summary sheet, and the summary sheet needs to have these items in it. And then when you get down to the virtual ones coming up, a PDF of the written lesson plan and a lesson delivery video must be uploaded. And then exactly what the components need to be in that. So I have pulled out from the rubric and the description specifically the pre-scoring part. So you know exactly what is due on that date, November 11th at noon. Okay. So you can't, it's very detailed. Lesson planning and delivery for the arts, what you need to have, what the lesson plan needs to have, what the video needs to have. Okay. So this is going to help you. Again, this is the like all-knowing competition thing for Maryland. This is going to help you be prepared and help those students be prepared. So I hope that that helps you guys, make sure you meet those deadlines. It's really important. Here is the link for the competitions. Here's the email address for competition questions, just a breakdown of those rules that I kind of just went over. This is a pre-scoring cheat. I mean, not pre-scoring. This is a competition cheat sheet. It has, when you click on this, it'll open up and it has all of the competitions. This is a national resource, which I love. It tells you which ones are team, which ones are individual. It tells you what is the pre-scoring requirement. Not as detailed as the one that I did because I copied it right from the rubrics, but as a general detail of what you need for pre-scoring. And then what happens on site, how long it should take on site. And what they need to prepare and have, and then what the awards would be. So it's kind of a fun overview of each of the competitions. So that's something that's good resource for competitions. This is all the information about pre-scoring. I kind of went over that. It starts on page 6 of the competition schedule. You need to make sure that you are uploading your pre-scoring components the day that you sign up for a time slot. So let's just say you want to compete in lesson planning for the arts. Your students will prepare their materials. They'll go on and they'll say, okay, I've got my pre-scoring stuff done, Mrs. Jones. Then they'll go on and pick a date and a time, upload their pre-scoring stuff, and then they will compete the following week. Okay? These are some frequently asked questions. One of them I get a lot is, what's the difference between a competition and a contest? And just kind of generally speaking, a competition is a little bit more competitive than a contest in the sense that a competition out of, let's say 30 kids compete for Maryland, there's going to be 1 through 30 in terms of placement, first, second, third, all the way down to 30 for Maryland and for nationals. Okay. Contests are different. Contests are rated by scores. So anybody that scores between, and I'm making this up, I don't remember what the actual numbers are, but anybody that scores between like 80 and 90 is a blue ribbon. So theoretically, 10 people could get a blue ribbon because they scored between 80 and 90. Same thing for a red ribbon. A second place winner could be anywhere from 60 to 70 if they get a score between that. 10 people could get that as long as they meet that score range. So that's the difference between a competition and a contest. More people can sort of win first place based, you're kind of competing against a score and not another person. Okay, so I hope that helps. When there are 2 dates listed, so for example, in November, there's the 18th and the 20th listed, they can pick whichever day works best for them and whatever time. they don't compete both days. They just pick one or the other. I think one is like a weekday and one's like a Saturday or something. So they just pick whichever one works better for them. They don't compete at both. And then this is a question about the lesson plan and delivery. So lesson plan and delivery you'll see that has a lot of topics like the arts, STEM, Spanish, whatever, like a lot of things. Each one of those is a different division, right? So if you're competing lesson plan STEM, you are only competing against lesson plan STEM people. Only people that submitted STEM lesson plans is who you're competing against, okay? So you could send technically 3 people to compete in that competition from your school. So each division is graded, not graded, is judged separately, okay? And somebody asked about who you're competing against. You are competing against everybody from Maryland in these Maryland competitions. All of the chapters will send students to the in-person and submit, do virtual competitions from all over Maryland. Once, and you'll be rated that way. So like you'll be first in Maryland, second in Maryland, third in Maryland, or whatever. In nationals, you'll be competing against the entire country, okay, every state. Okay, action items for today. We're doing great on time. Action items, well, let's talk competitions first. Before I move on to actions items, sorry, let's just go back. What questions do you have about competitions, or do you have any questions? Nobody has questions? Are you guys even out there?
Now, I'm gonna ask a question about the lesson plan submissions. So I know that I'll look more into it whenever I read it, but I saw in there like they're videoing themselves teaching it to a small group of kids.
Mhm.
And do they have to submit the permission, like, or do the kids just being enrolled, like if they have a photo release, does that suffice, or is the competition looking for them to have additional paperwork submitted that those kids could be videographed or filmed or whatever?
That is a school-based thing. So like if you have
Okay.
them, yeah. So like if like we had a preschool on site, we have our preschoolers submit a permission for them to be videotaped for lesson plan, for different things like that, for that particular reason. So they've already given permission for that. It, is overall permission. The only additional paperwork one is the children's literature one. It basically, they have to sign in a thing that they say that this is their original work, like they're not stealing it from somewhere else. But that's the only one that has extra permission paperwork. So whatever you need to do on your end is all that you need to do for the competition.
Okay, thanks.
And it does say that I got this question in the morning session about the YouTube submission, that it has to be submitted via YouTube. And we really kind of stand by that, except that I know some people may not be able to do a YouTube video. Vimeo also works. Here's what you have to consider. Think about it. However you can do it is fine, but we can't have a link to a video because we are like outside organization technically. And a lot of your students have blocked for them to share stuff with us. So a lot, you have to think about, can it be open from an outside organization? However, you need to like figure that out, whether that be that they send the video to you and then you send it, you upload it, or you make it a YouTube and then they can upload it, or however, you might need to make an extra step because there are some schools that are more secure than others in that regard, whether they have a YouTube or a Vimeo or something that they can do, upload videos. Just know that we cannot like get a video from a link from their Google Drive. It will never open for us. And that's why it has to be a PDF also, because we cannot open their materials. And we go to judge these things here and nationally, because I work on the competition team nationally. And if we can't open it, they don't get judged, they get disqualified. So we really don't want that to happen. So please make sure it can be opened, like by public, right? There's not going to be public, obviously. And in YouTube, there is a thing to make it not public. It's called unlisted. It's basically shareable by a link only. And that's how we share it. Like that's how I always share stuff with you guys. It's not necessarily public. Like it's not going to be somebody be able to search it on YouTube, but it's public enough that if you have a link for it, you can watch it. And that's how you want to set it up. And that's the same thing with Vimeo. Vimeo has the same kind of capacity to share only like to whoever has a link kind of a thing. So if you have questions about that, you can kind of talk to your IT people about it, or you can, I mean, I'm not as savvy with that for each of your counties, so I don't know what each of your counties has in place as far as like those, I can't think of the word, but the like walls that keep you guys from, sharing that stuff out. So just make sure that you have a way for outside people to be able to watch that video. I suggested YouTube. We suggest National suggests YouTube and Vimeo, but there might be other versions that you have access to. If you don't have a video release, you could certainly make something, make something for your students and to let them know that they're going to be competing in competitions. You can always also edit. I mean, these kids are so good with like their editing of the video stuff. They can also edit with like happy faces over their faces and stuff like that if you need to. You can do it a video with the camera facing the teacher, the student, and then all the other students' backs to the camera. So you can kind of work around it a little bit. But just, yeah, so you would just need it to, be set up for however your school would want it to be done. Okay, hope that answers that question. So action items. You're going to need to do the meeting sign-in. If you didn't do it already, you're going to do it now. You're going to need to register your students for membership by November 1st. Okay, so you have a whole month to go through that slide deck and get registered. Certainly let me know if you have any trouble. You're going to register your students for the fall, yourself and your students for the Fall Leadership Conference before October 10th. Soon as possible would be ideal. And you're going to attend the meeting with Libby just so that you have, that Maryland information. You're going to prepare your students for competitions and sign up, obviously, for competitions. I have some previous action items for some of you that didn't do stuff from the September 4th meeting. And you didn't do the teacher leader stipend form. It's really important for you to do that because that's how you're going to get paid your stipend. I have your names here, so please make sure that you get that done. It is linked here so that you can, fill that out. So make sure you get that done for me as soon as possible. Same thing with this teacher leader participant form. If you did not do this, please do this as soon as possible as well, because that is also really important for me to have your contact information. Okay. This is just for November. In November, our next meeting is November 6th. You can RSVP here. We're going to have a guest speaker, and we're going to be talking about the internship and apprenticeship program that we are going to be, that's going to be rolling out as part of the grant, where your students will be able to earn $500 per semester. And then the November competitions, these are all virtual ones, of course, so you can kind of put those on your radar and start preparing for those. And this is just a little tip of the month. This is how you find your chapter roster. So once you have signed up your students, this is how you're going to go and make sure that all their students have done the right thing. You're going to see a roster and you'll see, all of your students there. So this is how you're going to find your roster. Follow these directions here. And then the last thing is just my contact information. So I'm going to go back to our list of action items. Okay, so action items for today. These are the people that need to do the teacher leader stipend. Again, super important because that's how you're going to get paid. We have to get that filled out as soon as possible. And then people that have to do the teacher leader thing. The roster is not due. So like the roster is just for you to see who's registered for your chapter. You have to have everybody registered by November 1st. So that's the deadline that we have for you. If you're in Harford County or Frederick County, well, Frederick County is going to be fine, but Harford County, we're still working on getting that worked out. So that may change for you, but hopefully not. Hopefully we'll be able to get you started and get you guys entered as well. But this is just how you find the roster. Basically what I always did was I'd have my kids do all the registering, right? A couple weeks before it was due, try to get it at least a week before it was due, then pull a roster and I'd be like, okay, Joey did not complete his, something went awry with Joey. Joey's not on my list. He must not have entered the school, or he must not have done some piece of the, some piece of that PowerPoint. So I would go back to Joey and say, Joey, did you blah, blah, blah? And so we'd make sure Joey was on the list, right? So that's kind of where you want to look at the roster just to make sure that all your people are there. And so that's just a tip for you to find out, who actually completed the whole process. So does anybody have any questions? 5 minutes early. That's not too bad. I know I talk fast. I appreciate you guys spending time with me. I'm going to write down some names here so I can make sure I know everybody that came. Make sure you are filling out your sign in sheet because I need to make sure that I know you are here. Jennifer, did you have questions?
No, I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, thank you. So yeah, you guys are free to go. Oh, you want to see the attendance sign in link? It's also in the slide deck. Let me just pull it back up for you guys. Those of you that need to do it, I'll put it back on slide 1. Oops, went too far. Right there. So go ahead and fill that out. That's for today. If you didn't do the one for September, that's the next slide. So that's slide 3. So make sure you get that filled out as well because I need it for September as well. So make sure you fill out the September one, but do this one now so that you have that done. Otherwise, I will see you guys at the next meeting. I appreciate you guys coming. It's always good to see your faces when you show your faces. But I will talk to you all and see you guys all I guess at the next meeting. If not, actually, oh, I'll see a lot of you, I guess, at the leadership conference. So hopefully I'll get to see a lot of you there. So that we can see each other in person. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Shannon. Hey, is it gonna be all right if I do the